The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in our kitchen, a dull counterpoint to the tempest raging in my chest. Mary had been out shopping with her friend Chloe. A girl's day, she called it, her eyes bright, her tone a little too cheerful, a little too practiced. The kids were the grandparents for the weekend. A planned escape for Mary, I realize now, not the spontaneous getaway she'd painted it to be. I picked up her shopping bags on the floor, the thin plastic rustling like dry leaves. A sound and accusation. She'd always been a bit of a shopaholic, but the past few months it had been escalating. Designer labels, clothes that seem out of place in our modest suburban life. It had started subtly, a new purse here, a pair of expensive shoes there, small splurges I'd attributed to stress. But now, the bags overflowed with silk, leather, and things I couldn't even begin to pronounce. She never wore them around me. As I rummaged through the bags, the receipt at the bottom caught my eye, crumpled and half-hidden. I flattened it out on the counter, my breath hitched. It was from the boutique downtown, the one I knew she wouldn't normally set foot in, a boutique I learned later from a friend who worked in that part of town, frequented by young socialites and, in his words, rich guys with more money than sense. The list was long with prices that made my head spin, but it wasn't the amount that made my stomach drop. It was the single item I recognized. A man's silk robe, deep emerald green, an expensive robe. I didn't own anything that expensive. The front door clicked open and she walked in, a flush on her cheeks, her hair slightly disheveled. "Hey," she said, her voice a little too casual, too detached. She dropped her purse on the kitchen table, avoiding my gaze. I held out the receipt. "Care to explain this, Mary?" My voice was low, dangerous, a controlled growl I didn't recognize. She glanced at the paper in my hand, her eyes widening. Her smile faltered, then vanished altogether. She stumbled back, her hand flying to her mouth. "I can explain," she stammered. "Oh, I'm sure you can," I said, stepping towards her. "But let's hear it." I was still calm, but a storm was building, a cold fury rising from my core. She launched into a jumble of half-truths and weak excuses. Something about needing a gift for her brother's birthday. Something about a mix-up at the counter. The words were tumbling out of her like a child caught in a lie, but they were nothing but noise to me. "That robe—" I interrupted, my voice rising. "It's not for my brother-in-law, is it, Mary?" She didn't answer. The color drained from her face, leaving her pale and shaking. The facade of the happy, carefree wife crumbled before my eyes. The deceit hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper now, but laced with venom I didn't know I possessed. She finally broke down, tears streaming down her face. A name tumbled from her lips, a name that sounded like the start of a bad joke. It's Ethan. Ethan Davies. Ethan Davies. The smug, arrogant real estate developer I'd seen at the country club. The one who'd given Mary that look I'd foolishly ignored. The pieces of the puzzle finally clicked into place, forming a picture that shattered my world. My hands curled into fists. I turned from her, needing to distance myself from her betrayal, needing to focus, to not explode. "I need to take a walk," I said, the words flat. I didn't walk. I drove. I drove straight to his address, the one I found with a quick Google search. A multi-million-dollar mansion in the hills. The iron gates were open, like the mouth of some monstrous beast inviting me in. I parked my car on the street, the cheap sedan looking incongruous against the manicured lawns and sculpted hedges of his property. The front door was ajar. I pushed it open, not bothering to knock. Ethan was lounging on a chaise lounge in his lavish living room, a glass of amber liquid in his hand, a smug look plastered across his face. He was wearing the robe, that emerald green symbol of my humiliation. "Well, well," he said, his voice smooth and condescending. "Look what the cat dragged in." He didn't see the fury that was burning in me, didn't see how he had not only disrespected me, but had turned my life upside down. My hand balled into a fist before it connected with his face. The sound was sickening, like cracking bones. He went down hard. I was on him immediately, pulling him up by the lapels of the expensive robe, a wild growl tearing from my throat. "She's my wife, you piece of trash." I screamed, "She's mine!" I let loose a barrage of punches, each one fueled by the agony of betrayal, the humiliation of being cuckolded, the knowledge that my life, the life we built together, was a lie. He didn't fight back. He just curled up, whimpering, blood dripping from his split lip. I didn't care. The rage consumed me. Finally, I stopped. I was breathing hard, my knuckles throbbing. I looked down at Ethan, crumpled on the floor, his face a mess, his ego shattered. "You're nothing," I spat, the words dripping with disgust. I grabbed his phone off the side table. I scrolled through his contacts, stopping at Mary's number. I pressed call, placing on speaker. She answered, her voice shaky and small. "Ethan?" "No, it's not Ethan." I heard her gasp on the other end, a strangled sound. "He's a little busy right now," I said, my voice cold. "Let's just say he won't be seeing you again." Then I added, with cold satisfaction, "I'd suggest you pick up your things from here. I'm sure you know where he keeps them. Also, don't come home. I'm not sure I'm ready to see you yet." I ended the call. I turned, looking at the wreckage I had created, and walked back out of his mansion, got in my car, and drove away. The drive home was a blur. I felt numb, drained, but also, strangely, a sense of satisfaction. A small ember of triumph in the ashes of my life. I went inside, into the home that no longer felt like my own. The silence was heavy, broken only by the occasional creak of the house settling. I walked into the bedroom, the room we'd shared for so long, and ripped the sheets off the bed, throwing them in the corner of the room as if I was destroying every memory we'd shared together. I went into the kitchen and threw away the shopping bags, all the expensive clothing and shoes, as if I was rejecting everything she had become. I stood there alone, the weight of the world pressing down on me. A few hours later, a car pulled up outside, tires crunching on the gravel. The front door opened, and Mary stood there, her face stained with tears, a suitcase clutched in her hand. She didn't say anything, just looked at me with those sad, desperate eyes. I looked back, my gaze cold and unwavering. "Get out." I said the words flat and final. She didn't try to argue, didn't beg for forgiveness. She just turned and walked back out the door, closing it softly behind her, leaving me alone in the wreckage of our life. I walked to the window, looking out as her car pulled away from the curb. As I watched her disappear into the night, a single tear rolled down my cheek. I didn't feel sad. Not really. I felt free. The pain was still there, a deep, throbbing ache. But it was a pain that was mingled with a sense of liberation. The next few weeks were hard, filled with legal proceedings and the painful logistics of untangling our lives. The divorce was brutal, a messy affair that left me feeling bruised and battered. But I refused to be broken. I rebuilt my life, slowly but surely, piece by piece. The house felt empty at first, but soon it became my sanctuary, a place where I could finally breathe, where I could finally be myself. I never saw Mary again. I had lost my marriage, but I had gained something far more valuable, my self-respect.